It's lights out, everybody, and welcome back to the Downforce podcast, the For Friend Formula One podcast. We were just off for a week, our first week all season long, but we had to come back in a big way. That's why all four of us are here. You have myself, Ben, you have Josh, you have J9, and you have Matt. We decompressed from the British Grand Prix. We are setting you up perfectly for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, one of the legendary tracks. A lot of the drivers' favorites. We will set the stage, but there is much bigger news to talk about. I mean, we take 1 week off and the whole F1 world seems to collapse yet again. And of course, this time it is coming out of Milton Keynes. And of course, that is the home of Red Bull. They announced the Wednesday after the British Grand Prix a couple weeks ago that Christian Horner would be fired as their team principal, effective immediately. And this is a big deal. And I think even bigger that it's Red Bull because he is was now their only team principal in history. He was there for 20 and a half years. I just want to get everybody's thoughts. I was not expecting this at all.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Christian Horner fan in general, but what he's done for the team over the past 20 years has been nothing short of incredible. I think he was the longest tenured team principal up until that point. And they fired him in the most Red Bull way possible of firing him in the middle of the season, like they do with all their drivers that are not named Max Verstappen right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like Bill Belichick. Get him out. He's had his time. Like, you're done. You're gone. Bring in someone new. I think he brings a lot of negative publicity to the team, especially last year. And so they were riding off of that and then hoping that this year would be better and that more positivity would come. And everything with Max not enjoying the team, not enjoying the car, it's yeah, he's got to go. I'm not always a fan of firing the coach per se, team principal. But in this case, yeah, we need some fresh perspective, fresh new eyes, and someone that is going to give Max what he wants. Or this might just be a telltale sign of what's to come based on what we're seeing. And really, it would just be a whole new team from that point.
Absolutely. And I think that Zach Brown had a good point that he wasn't surprised by the result, but he was surprised by the timing. It's not often that you go into a season where you might get rid of your team principal. I mean, I think there's been some questions after the whole scandal last year, and obviously they haven't been performing as well as they need to be, but it felt like odd timing to me too. Now, especially with the talks with how this is going to affect Max, it might actually help him stay if that's what Red Bull wants. And I think that's what he wants also is he's more comfortable without Horner there. And I think Mekis is talented. He's not going to be a bad team boss, but it's just, I think, maybe the wrong time to be doing this. And especially with being fourth in constructors, how does this maybe see Red Bull go back up on the trajectory? But no, I just felt very surprised by the timing of it all.
I think the firing right now means one of two things. I think it either means Max and the Verstappen clan said, fire him or we're not returning. Or Red Bull already knows that Max is gone and they're trying to figure out their future post Verstappen. And so they said, Christian Horner, you're gone. Let's get in the Mekis, who you said, who was the Racing Bulls team principal beforehand. So he gets promoted up to the big team, and then he can run that and get half of the development cycle for the 2026 cars and really try and put them onto a new path for the future without Max Verstappen. And that's what I think would happen.
I want to get into the Max Verstappen debate, because I think you hit the nail on the head there, Josh, of does this mean Max is leaving or is this the last stitch to get him to stay? But I'm glad, Matt, you brought up Laurent Mekies, because he's no slouch. First off, very different in style than Christian Horner, but I mean, has been in the sport for a while, has been team principal, couple of places now, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But you also mentioned earlier, Josh, I think he was the oldest tenured. He absolutely was. 20 and a half years. Right now, that leaves Toto Wolff as the longest tenured team principal, also part owner, that he is on his 12th season. But the thing that is even crazier now is now outside of Toto Wolff, all of the team principals have been in their current role since 2023 or more recently. We have not, everybody is at the oldest in their third season, except for Toto Wolff. So it tells you how brutal Formula One is. This certainly felt brutal. I know there was a lot of controversy the last 2 seasons around Christian Horner, but you can't argue that 4-time world champion Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel, every single win, championship, both drivers and constructors, that Red Bull has ever earned has been under Christian Horner. So this is really the higher ups, even higher than Christian Horner at Red Bull corporate, saying we need to make full sweeping changes. But the real change that people want to know about is Max Verstappen. Is this firing, one last attempt to get him to stay at Red Bull, who's clearly on a downtick, clearly struggling? Without Max Verstappen, they would be in last place right now this season. Or was the writing on the wall that Max was on the way out, and that's why they had to get rid of Christian Horner? Of course, Mercedes being the big talk, Toto Wolff trying to court one of the greats of all time of the sport over to the Silver Arrows. So I open it right back up for debate. I'll jump to you, Matt, first. What does Max Verstappen do? Does he stay or does he go? What do you think?
To be honest, I think he needs to go. That's just the way I see it. I don't think that any driver who's been successful over the course of their F1 career, and this is unfortunate, I would love to see drivers and also other teams in other sports have players maybe that they don't stick around anymore, and you go where you're going to get the resources that you need. But I've seen a lot of drivers. Lewis Hamilton's an easy example where no matter how dedicated he was to Mercedes, he went where he needed to go in order to be in the situation to succeed and make a career that he wanted. So I think Max would thrive at Mercedes, but I do see how it's not the easiest decision. A lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, I think Max is totally gone. Both he and Toto Wolff were in Sardinia on vacation. Their jets and yachts happen to be there right next to each other at the same time. So
yeah, all the pictures of them making out online.
Yeah, leaking. Totally real. I think what's going to happen is we have this Belgian Grand Prix, we have the Hungarian Grand Prix next, we have the summer break, and then the Dutch Grand Prix. Max, of course, is Dutch. I think it will be announced that Max is going to Mercedes over the summer break, and there will be lots of Silver Arrows fans at the Dutch Grand Prix ready for Max next year.
Wow, that's a bold statement right there. I think I'd be interested to see it. I think he's definitely going to leave, but I think that that's really going to jeopardize his career a little bit, because we've seen it with Lewis Hamilton. We've seen it with quite a few drivers where they switch teams, and it just takes a while to get used to a new car, new team, new everything, and the driving style and the way the car is built, and how, if it's Mercedes, how willing are they to change the entire car and how it's set up and how it drives and all that stuff for not just Max, but his father. We all know it. And that's just a lot. It's a lot to take on. It's what every superstar has, and whether the team is willing to put up with it or not. There's so many examples that I can think of, but I'd be interested to see. I would, if that were to happen, I say that the 26th season would not be filled with Verstappen wins. I would say Verstappen goes back into the field like 6, 7, 8, and getting 6, 7, 8th place in the races. Not, maybe 6th, 7th, 8th driver overall in the drivers' championship. I would not expect him to be top 3.
I think with the change in regulations, any team could be anywhere next year. I think
that's certainly Mercedes' biggest argument. And Christian Horner, one of his last public statements before he got fired, was that he even said it would be embarrassing if Red Bull had a better engine than Mercedes, because Mercedes is known in the last couple decades of developing the best engines when there's an engine regulation. This coming regulation is obviously more than just engine, but an engine is obviously going to play a key part. And so history at least suggests that Mercedes will be the class of the field, which I think is a great argument for Max to jump. But like you were saying, J9, we've seen Hamilton struggle at Ferrari now, but with the regulation change, because the cars are changing so much, I think there's going to be growing pains for everybody. And to Matt's point, like you talked about loyalty, I think Max is loyal, but I'm not sure it's to Red Bull. I think Max is loyal to winning. And he's in it for that.
Loyal to the sport.
Yeah, married to the game.
That's better.
But I really think, though, that like Max is the type of driver where he just wants to win, and when he can't win, he's going to hang it up. He's alluded to not having this incredibly long career in Formula One. So I think Mercedes should be one of the better teams, at least in the new regulations. Everybody's going to have some growing pains, so now would be a good time to make a switch. And Horner's gone. I mean, Max has been the glue at Red Bull for a while because everything else has struggled around it. But now with Horner gone, it's clear that, he's the captain going down with his ship. Is the ship fully sunk, or is he going to ride it down for another year, another two? Obviously, the other part of this equation that gets very interesting is Mercedes has just signed Kimi Antonelli, who is touted as the next Verstappen, is a stud. We've seen glimpses of it. Obviously, he's in his rookie season, so the consistency isn't completely there yet. And you have George Russell, who's driving the best season of his career. He's definitely
a noted enemy of Max Verstappen.
Right. So then it also becomes a puzzle of Kimi and George are both out of contract at the end of this year. Who goes, all of the speculation, maybe we'll save it to see if it actually happens, because at this point, Max might stay, and then all of this, debate is back and forth for nothing. But Mercedes, I think, has a juicy problem on their hands because they're going to wind up with 2 out of the 3 good drivers. It's just which 2 they're going to wind up. And I'm sure it's going to be all that gets talked about this weekend. So jumping right into it, as we mentioned, heading to Belgium, specifically the Formula One Moet and Chandon Belgian Grand Prix. Get the champagne ready before the podium celebrations even begin. It is, of course, at Spa-Francorchamps, one of the all-time Formula One tracks. Drivers love it, teams love it, fans love it. It is certainly one to build up kind of this couple weeks off into a celebration of a Formula One weekend. And of course, it is another sprint weekend this year. So something we will have to pay attention to. Our predictions will have to get crazier, of course. But the one other thing I'll notice before I kick it to Matt for his legendary track facts, as always, is for the first time since the 2022 Australian Grand Prix, Pirelli has said, not consecutive tires. We are going with a non-consecutive allocation, the C4 being the soft, the C3 being the medium, but instead of the C2, the C1 will be the hards. So, playing a little more into strategy, I know a lot of people online have been saying, if you want to see real difference in tire, don't just do consecutive tires, spread it out a little bit. So, will the difference between the medium and the hard make race strategy really crazy? Will the weather make the race crazy? Because the forecast is suggesting above a 50% chance of rain for every session so far. So, with that, buckle in, get ready. It is time to go around the longest track on the Formula One calendar with Matt's track facts. Let's do it.
All right. Thanks, Ben. And as you mentioned, we're headed to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We just call it Spa. That's easier for the Americans here. So this is a permanent clockwise track located in Francorchamps, Liège, Belgium. It's held professional races since 1924. That was outside of F1, but it was actually one of the 7 original circuits in the 1950 F1 calendar. It's held 57 Grand Prix. It's got a lot of history, and it's very, very special to not only the sport, but to a lot of the drivers, as you mentioned, Ben. There's been some legendary moments. One of my favorite drivers of all time, Ayrton Senna, had a great wet weather performance here in 1985. Worth a look back at the highlights? I'd say so. It's legendary, but it's also lethal. I'm not going to get into it too much. But if you've watched Drive to Survive, if you've kept up with F1, over the last 6 years, we've lost 2 drivers in 4 years in almost nearly identical conditions. We'll talk about some of the high-speed corners, but yeah, it's worth questioning, is there anything coming to change? Spa's seen a lot of changes in its layout over the years. Maybe that's something that's coming up in the future, but not right now. So on to some happier notes. Let's talk track characteristics. There's a lot of long straights and fast corners that are going to help drivers push their cars to the edge. If it's dry, it is going to be a favorite for drivers and fans. I feel confident about that. If it's wet, it might just be a favorite for us, the fans, maybe not the drivers, but we'll see. It's got 2 DRS zones, one along the start-finish straight and one before the trip to Eau Rouge, and one on the back straight called Kemmel. I'll talk about Eau Rouge in a second, but being a large track, as Ben mentioned, it can sometimes be raining on one part of the track and dry on an entirely other section of the track. So tire strategy and driver wet condition skills are going to be ever more important at this track here. And that length there for the track is 7.004 kilometers. This is the longest on the calendar. We're only going to have 44 laps, but that does not mean it's going to be a shorter race. We're going to go for a total of 308.052 kilometers, which is coming right off of Austria, which is one of the shortest tracks. So a little bit of a, change there. Get ready for it. There's also some famous churns, especially, like I mentioned, Eau Rouge. Josh, pop a photo when we put this in some reels, man. It's beautiful. It is arguably the most famous sequence of corners in the world in motorsport, as drivers flick left and right up the hill. It's my favorite chicane on the entire calendar. And right after that, if somebody's feeling bold, they might dive bomb into a 90-degree right-hander at Le Combe. And then also look for turns 10 and 11 Pouhon, which is one of the fastest double lefts in F1, taken at over 200 kilometers an hour. Finally, for some stats, as we mentioned, we'll go for the C1, C3, and C4 tires this race. And when it comes to our regular stats, we've got over 57 Grand Prix here, but since 1993, 63% of the races have had a safety car, many times due to rain. It has been a little bit less likely in more recent years, but we still got that possible rain Friday, light rain Saturday. I did not see the updates to that 50%, so it's getting more and more likely it's going to be a crazy wet race. And last but not least, the lap record was set by Sergio Checo Perez last year in 2024 with a 144.701 RIP.
He's not dead. I want to be clear. Dead. He's not one of the two drivers that died. He's just no longer currently a Formula One driver. There are rumors that he might be coming back, but for now.
But I hope so.
Yes.
He did a lot of shit last year. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
You did that. If he comes back, will you just give him more shit?
Probably. But with respect. It's different.
Respectful shit.
I started driving this track in the simulator, and while I am very slow, it is a fun track. I understand why many drivers like it. Going just flat out through Eau Rouge and the double left, like you said, Matt, it's just electric. It's fun. There's some technical spots, but it's fast. And it's an enjoyable track to drive. So I see why all the drivers are really into it.
Yeah. Obviously, this one was one of my favorites last year because my favorite team did really well at this track. The Mercedes of last year was very good on these fast straights and long straights and curves. And so last year, Russell was incredible in this race. He came in first after beating Hamilton and Piastri and Leclerc, and Verstappen actually got in 5th place. However, as we all know, at the end of each race, every driver, the winners are weighed to make sure that the weight is still under regulation. And Russell did not pass last time, which I remember being very upset about, obviously, because that's critical points for my team. And so Russell actually disqualified. And so Hamilton, I was happy about this one. Hamilton took 1st place, and then Piastri and Leclerc followed suit in 2nd and 3rd. Last year was it was very eventful and fun to watch because it's such a good track, but there weren't any big red or yellow flags. There was only one DNF, and that was Zhou Guanyu. And so we had a very typical race. It was always very fun looking back and seeing Ricardo there, and some of my favorites. Bottas was driving, and so memories. Sargent, I could care less. So sorry. But It was I'm very much looking forward to this race. I think that we'll still see a lot of speed from the Mercedes car, obviously McLaren and Ferrari, and then I'm intrigued to see how Verstappen does compared to all those other teams and all those really strong drivers in a not so great car, but with some really good skill. I know that I'll be definitely be rooting for him behind a couple of my others favorites. So
I
we'll see.
remember last year, part of the excitement, because we were still very much in the Max Verstappen domination. I mean, McLaren was finding their group, but part of the reason Max finished so low in this race is he took an engine penalty. At this point, he'd already used up his allotment of engines, so I think he qualified pole. Actually, I know he qualified pole because in every racing session, sprint or Grand Prix, Max Verstappen has qualified on pole in every single edition since 2020. So nobody has taken pole position other than he this decade. So maybe that will change. He's not taking an engine penalty, so expect him to be more competitive. But we shall see. Hopefully being more competitive, me in the Predictors Championship this year, because I am struggling, but we are exactly halfway through the season, so the comeback starts now. But Josh has the standings.
Yeah, you are most definitely struggling. You have 13 points, solidly in last place. Matt is ahead of you with 17, J9 19. Me way out in front with 27. But it's a sprint weekend, like you said, so we have 2 extra points up for grabs. And it's also, like you mentioned, halfway through. So there's still plenty of time for any comeback or for me to just extend my lead because, of course, I will.
We shall see. But as we always do, we go chronologically, of course, with extra predictions this weekend. That means we start with sprint pole position J9. Friday afternoon. Is it Max Verstappen or is it somebody else taking P1?
It is Max Verstappen. For some reason, he just continues to get into these positions that you don't really think he's going to be in when it comes to these races. You know, we've seen McLaren dominate. We've seen Ferrari not do so great, but Mercedes also not at the same, you know, they're very unpredictable. But Verstappen, for some reason, continuously gets very good in qualifying. In the sprints. And so I think he's going to make the top for pole.
I have gone for Max Verstappen as well. I don't know if it applies in Formula One, but there's always the joke in other sports that when a coach gets fired, normally team does well right after. I don't know if Max is happy or sad about Christian leaving, but I think Max has something to prove. I think Red Bull as a team has something to prove that they made the right choice here. So look for Max to come out firing.
Red Bull really struggled with their setup in the rain in Great Britain, and if it's going to rain here, they better not make that same mistake. And I have gone with maybe the best, maybe wet weather driver on the grid right now, which is Lando Norris, I think. I think the McLaren car was so fast in Great Britain, and Lando has kind of been on a roll beating Piastri the last few races, so and winning them. So, yeah, I'm going Lando here.
I've also gone Lando. I think he's calm under pressure. Well, more recently
Sometimes.
at least. Yeah, I think he excels in some damp one-lap shootouts. With the shorter race, I think that there's less room for him to make mistakes, less room for there to be an issue with tire strategy. Oh, sorry, this is pole. Recent. I've also gone Lando. I think he's calm under pressure. And in those quick shootouts and in the qualifying, I think that he'll do well.
Well, we are split down the middle. Do we feel as confident that pole will be converted to the winner in the sprint race? I think yes. I think Max Verstappen is going to convert the pole into the win. I think it's perfectly spicy for Formula One. Everybody's talking about Max isn't in the championship anymore. The McLarens are running away with it. Obviously, Max is being talked about so much, which I'm sure he hates on media day, about whether or not he's staying at Red Bull or going to Mercedes. But to add in one more spicy thread, Max is going to have a vintage performance, and people are going to start to question, is he out of this? Half a season left, he might.
I have also gone with Max Verstappen, so I have Lando dropping off in the sprint. And
oh wow,
like you said, vintage Verstappen, he's been great at this track, so see his race.
He has.
Matt, you sticking with Lando?
No. So Max has won the last, or before Lewis, the prior 3 races. But I also think he thrives in chaos. It's going to be a wet weather race with not very, there's no pit stops, right? So I think it's going to be a crazy race. Max, I think, will shine in that chaos.
Yeah. I think like after this race, it's going to be so Max to leave us even more confused about what he's going to do. And his whole message is going to be shut the fuck up and wait till everything happens. We don't know yet. We have no idea what's going on. Christian just left. Why do you think I'm making a decision so fast? Relax. I think that's going to be the message after this race of like, he did well. You're not really sure if he's going to leave or not. We're probably going to come back on the pod debating the same things over and over again, stuff on social media, and everything's just going to still be the same.
We shall see. We certainly all agree, which is bad for me because that means I can't make up any points if he does win the sprint. But fortunately, there's 2 races this weekend. One more important than the other. But before we can get to the Grand Prix, of course, we have to talk about Grand Prix qualifying. Josh, who do you have qualifying on pole position for Sunday's race?
So I think McLaren is going to be on pole in both sessions. However, I don't want to guess which driver is going to get which one. So I picked Norris for both of them. I think he'll get one of them. Oscar might get the other, but I'm just trying to hedge my bets here. If Lando got pole for both, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, the McLaren's too fast. Lando's been on a hot streak. Hopefully he'll get at least one of the 2.
Yeah, I'm going McLaren, so I'm going actually Piastri for for qualifying.
Yeah, me too.
I have gone Oscar Piastri as well. He says he loves this track. He says it's his favorite track. And he's looked mighty around here. But we say it every time. Points are earned on Sunday. In this case, Saturday as well because of the sprint. But 25 points up for the winner in the Grand Prix compared to 8 in the sprint. Obviously, the marbles fall on Sunday. But before we get to first, we start with our entire podium, starting with 3rd position in the Grand Prix. Matt, who did you go with?
I've gone with the boy Charles Leclerc. I don't know if I have a strong reason why, but he did perform well here last year. And okay,
we stink in the rain.
Feeling about it, man.
Ferrari's so bad in the rain.
Do you know how we know it's a terrible pick? Because I also went Charles Leclerc in P3, and I have not done well. But Ferrari seems optimistic that their new floor, their new upgrade package will work well in Spa. They keep saying, wait till Spa, wait till Spa. I ain't waiting much longer, so I've gone with Charles in P3.
I would love that, but I think the rain is just going to cancel all of that out. So I've gone with Max Verstappen. I think he's the best driver easily outside of the 2 McLarens who just have the best car. So that's to spoil my top 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going Russell. I think that there's going to be some chaos in the rain if it does rain. So I'm hedging my bets on rain. But I think that there's going to be some chaos and one of the McLarens isn't going to finish. So I'm going Russell at 3rd.
I don't even know if that's your spicy hot take. We ain't there yet. We will have to wait and see. But one above, Josh, who did you go with in P2?
I've gone Piastri P2, Norris P1. I have Norris with besides the sprint win, I have him doing the clean sweep this weekend.
I have gone Lando Norris in P2. Josh, I would gladly give up the Predictors Championship for your predictions to come true and Lando to keep closing in on Oscar Piastri in the Drivers' Championship. But Oscar has been pretty sensational this year.
I want Lando to catch Oscar and then to just fight it out the rest of the year and crash and become mortal enemies like Nico and Lewis.
Oh my.
Get the drama going.
It'd be interesting to see if we see another situation like previous in the rain where Piastri and Norris have to figure out who's going to go in first for tires and what that tire strategy is going to be between them, because I feel like last time it worked, but it's got to not work one race. This is it. Because Spa is chaotic. In second, I'm actually going Verstappen. I think he's going to have a really solid race, get up in some really good points there, but not quite make it to the front.
Nice. And I've also gone Lando Norris. I think he's going to be consistently top two. We'll talk about P1 in a second, but honestly, if it wasn't for my P1 pick, I would have picked him. So,
well, you don't have to wait long, Matt. I'll kick it right back to you. Why don't you reveal your P1 pick then?
I think Oscar converts the pole into a win, and I'm so excited about. It's okay for me if mine 1-2 doesn't work out, as long as that 1-2 goes to McLaren. It would be the fourth 1-2 in 5 races, and the 5th this season, and the 10th double podium for the team. I mean, just
they're dumb.
No, fuck that. No, we're not going to give him the satisfaction. Verstappen's going to pull in. Beep, beep, motherfucker. I'm here. Although I don't know if they have horns. I'm just thinking.
Definitely not. But who do you have winning?
We're going Piastri first. And that's okay.
So you just don't like Lando?
Oh, that's very accurate. I don't like Lando.
Damn. I like Lando. I had him P2 because I have Oscar P1. Oscar, obviously, we saw how ticked off he was at the British Grand Prix with the penalty in the wet weather. I can guarantee you, if Oscar is leading in the rain behind the safety car, he will not make the same mistake twice. So I'm sure he feels like he was just robbed of a win. So I bet he's going to come back fiery. Now we've got 2 predictions left. Obviously, the hot takes, we cap it all off. But before we get there, we have to get to the final place finisher. That's right, P10 in the Grand Prix. Josh, who's salvaging the last point or earning the last point of the race?
Yeah, I'm changing my pick last minute. I'm going Gabriel Bortoleto, and it'll tie into my hot take.
That was so strange. Okay. It's kind of random, and I'm now excited for the hot take. I'm going Ocon. I think he's going to be he's one of those mid drivers where you're like, who is he again? You know? And he'll get a point. I also think he's like less chaotic than some of the others in the rain. So I'm going with him. Although he's still chaotic.
There you go. I'm going with his teammate, Ollie. I think it's maybe a compensation for me not getting my hot take last round. Just slot him in the 10th. Get him a point.
And I have gone with Carlos Sainz. I think Williams needed the little bit of a break, a little bit of a reset. I think they're going to come back a little stronger now that they have Kick Sauber fresh on their heels. And that brings us to our spicy hot takes. 3 times the points, 3 times the chaos. J9, you've used the word chaos a lot, and I always kick it to you at the beginning because spicy hot takes are truly yours. So why ruin a good thing? What is your spicy hot take?
Wow. Well, I've already said I am predicting that McLaren one of the cars will not finish the race. And I'm going with at least 3 cars, including one McLaren not finishing the race because of these crazy rain conditions that I'm predicting. So that's my spicy hot take.
So
McLaren
you're saying
is not getting their 1-2 in this 5th race in a row.
So specifically, it's not just 3 DNFs. It's 3 DNFs, including 1 McLaren DNF.
That is correct.
That is spicy. That is spicy.
It doesn't. I'm not saying specifically Norris or Piastri. I know in my predictions, I wanted Piastri up at the front. But I'm not making that specificity in this hot take. And I'm just like for full clarity. Also, it's not just a DNF. Let's say someone's disqualified. Let's say someone doesn't start for whatever reason. That it's just not finishing, which includes also not starting.
We're covering our bases.
Yeah, so I swear, if this happens, but it's like some other
you're trying to catch all the technicalities.
Yeah, other technical term. We're not going to be debating back and forth. We'll know for certain.
Well, the paper trail is set. Matt, do you have as spicy a hot take?
So I do, and I know this might not be as spicy a hot take at most weekends. And it's kind of along the same lines as J9's, but let's flip the coin. I'm going to say that after 5 rookies DNF'd in Silverstone, not a single rookie will DNF due to a non-mechanical failure. So if the engine goes, not their fault. If they crash out, then I don't get my hot take. But
So what if someone else hits them?
Oh, good point.
Let's go for it. Not just mechanical failures are the only things that don't count. Crashes would count.
Okay, interesting. That I picked Bortoleto 10th, and Matt, if yours comes true with all of the rookies finishing, I'm saying Bortoleto is going to be the best rookie of the weekend. Combined points of the sprint and
you got against my boy Kimi.
Huh? Yeah, I have gone against your boy Kimi. I've gone against Ajit Kadjar. I've gone against Liam Lawson. I've gone against all of them. Bortoleto, I think the Kicksauber has been gaining over the past few races in general, and I think Bortoleto's gaining confidence also, getting first points recently a few races ago. And so, yeah, I think he's about to take over as the best rookie of this class.
So I guess it's a spicy status that we're enemies for the next week because you have it out for my boy Kimi? Oh, yeah. Cool.
I guess the only way I want Josh's hot take to come true is if Bortoleto is fighting for a podium spot, because I have gone with both VCarb and Aston Martin will reach at least 40 points on the season this weekend. So both teams are tied at 36. We're halfway through the season, 12 races, so they only average 3 points a weekend. They each need 4 points. You can get it in any combination, but both V-Carbs are rookies. So if Gabriel Bortoleto's P10 and is the best rookie, not looking possible for V-Carb.
They could get a few points in the sprint and then a few points in the race.
They average 3 points, but that's without a sprint.
Yeah, but there's been 2 sprints.
And there's less points up for grab in the sprints. Yeah, I don't hate it. It's still hot for both teams to hit it.
We shall see. It certainly would be heating up.
We just had Kicksauber get third, so I'm not really sure what's spicy anymore.
Who knows? Obviously, we love it. Formula One is getting turned on its head. As we've mentioned a couple times, it is the halfway point of the season. In the Drivers' Championship, Oscar Piastri leads Lando Norris by only 8 points. There is so much to race for, so much to drive for. This is really where crunch time begins, and because it's a sprint race, it is balls to the wall right away. Sprint qualifying at 10:30 in the morning on Friday, so weekend starting a little early. The sprint, you're going to have to wake up a little early for. It's 6 a.m. on Saturday because qualifying for the Grand Prix is at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then the Grand Prix, 1 hour earlier, it is at 9 a.m. on Sunday. Of course, these are all Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, whatever we're in right now on the East Coast. If you are on the East Coast with us or in the U.S., ESPN is the place to watch the race.